Hi everybody, it's Julie, Kansas City girl in a Colorado world, and today is Monday, December 19th. It is Christmas week, and this is Flosstube number 103, and I'm back really soon. I just filmed about a week ago, but I have so much to show that I didn't want to wait any longer. So I have stitched and fully finished 15 Christmas ornaments or holiday ornaments. In the video last week, I think I had stitched, I don't know, maybe it was like 10. I already had a lot stitched, but I hadn't finished any of them. And since then I have finished all of them and stitched more. So I have I have a lot. So I think this video, even though it's only been a week, I think this video should be plenty long. So I want to get started. I have to look at my list so I remember like designer and title of everything. So I'm going to just go in order of finishes. So let me see. So the first one I stitched and have since, like I said, all of these have been fully finished. So the first one was East Coast Crafter, which is Helen D. She's on Flosstube and Instagram, East Coast Crafter. And this was an ornament that she designed a couple of years ago for Just Cross Stitch magazine. She actually entered the they have a contest every year where you can design and enter an ornament and you can win a prize pack. So this was one of, I think, her first things that she had designed, and it's called Dasher. Now you can get this from Helen D on her website. She has it as a freebie. So if you just go to like her Instagram, you can find the link there. But this is Dasher, and it's on a 32 count mystery linen. I know it's a linen from, it was dyed by Jody at Steel City Stitchers, but I think I got it in a box, and I don't know that you could get it again, and I don't remember what it was called, but it was just a 32 count like charcoal colored linen, and it has some glitter, some really fine glitter in it. And I stitched it with DMC Blanc or B5200, and except for the Owen Rudolph, I used DMC Etoile 666, which is just a bright red orange. So here's my finish of this. So all of these you're gonna see have some similar finishing because I don't have all of my finishing supplies with me. So I bought 4 different Christmassy fabrics to use for backings, and then I had a couple of trims that I got in a trim pack. Yeah, so you might notice that some of these look kind of similar, but I was limited to what I could grab at Michael's a couple weeks ago when I ran in and looked for Christmas finishing. So anyway, this is Dasher. So then I finished, this is from this year's Just Cross Stitch 2022 Christmas ornament issue. Not the Christmas issue. They have like a December issue, but then they also have just an ornament issue. So this is from the ornament issue for this year. I stitched a couple of things out of that issue. This is by Pickle Pixie Cross Stitch, and it's called It's All About the Sweets. And so this one, again, like same kind of finishing. I also at Michael's bought a pack of these glittery balls in like the arts and crafts section. So you'll see some of these ornaments. I've just randomly glued these on. But this was another backing fabric I had grabbed. And then I finished with this green sparkly yarn. This is a 14 count Aida. It's a blue modeled Aida that I got from Michael's. It's got like blue and green modeling. It's pretty subtle, but it's really a pretty fabric. I've actually used it for a ton of things, which you will see shortly. Stitched mostly with the called for DMC, but I did grab a couple of DMC Etoiles to sub those in and give this some more sparkle. There's a couple of beads on here as well. So it came out really cute. Then I finished Also from this year's Just Cross Stitch ornament issue. This was a design by Amanda May at Ardith Designs, and I finished it almost exactly how they had it finished in the magazine. So this is called Oh Dear Gingerbread Cookie. And I really loved how they finished it sort of like a gingerbread cookie. So this one, I just glued felt on the back. There's no cardboard or anything. It's like a soft finish, but it was actually really easy because all I did was cut out my stitching, cut out the felt, and then just glued it down. So it was really a really easy finish. And I think it came out really cute. So that was also a pretty quick stitch. There's a bunch of beads. I don't know if you can tell, but this has a lot of that, what looks to be white, is actually beading. But even with the beading, it was a really quick finish. So, okay, then I finished, also from that same Just Cross Stitch ornament issue, this year's, I finished Marshmallow Sweet by Michelle Bendy Stitchy. And I did change some colors on this one. So she had this stitched with, I think, Classic Colorworks, and I didn't really have those specific ones. So I grabbed mostly the DMC equivalent and then a couple of flosses from Stash. The big change I made was the border. Hers was just like a purpley, and I had this pastel rainbow floss that I wanted to use, so I grabbed that. And then I just changed, I think, a couple of colors in this marshmallow to complement that better. But mostly I used DMC. I think it's all DMC except for the border. This is a piece of 36 count Fox and Rabbit linen in the color Baked Clay, which is, I think, my favorite color from Fox and Rabbit. And I just finished it with this, I think this fabric, you'll see it again on a couple of these, I got at Walmart. I think it's a Pioneer Woman Christmas fabric, actually. And then the trim is just a blue Chanel that I got from Colorado Cross Stitcher, Sherry's shop in Fort Collins. I got that when I was back in October. And I grabbed it for something else, but it's actually come in handy. I used it on several of these finishes as well. So there's that. And then I finished, oh, this was a really quick one. From the same issue, the Just Cross Stitch ornament issue, I finished Love and Joy, which is From the Heart Needle Art by Wendy. And she usually, I think she has a contribution almost every year to that magazine. So this was that same linen, that 36 count baked clay from Fox and Rabbit. I did not use the called for colors. It only calls for 4. I just grabbed 4 colors from Stash that looked, similar. A red, a green, a brown, and a gold. My red looks more pink than I thought it would, but that's okay. I don't mind. And then I finished it with some of that backing fabric and then some green pom-pom I had. Now I know this one, of all of these ornaments, I think this one's the one that is probably the most crooked. I was finishing 11 of these in one day and I was exhausted. So I just started really slapping these together, and I didn't even finish them that day. It took me half of the next day to finish 11 of these. So they're not super neat and tidy and perfect because I was just, I had to cut out so much cardboard and stretch and glue, and it was a lot. So this one I think suffered the most, but I'm not too precious about it. It's just a quick finish ornament, so it's okay. All right, next up, Top Knot Stitcher, We Wish You a Merry Christmas. This was a release a couple of years ago. A lot of these I had kitted up and had wanted to stitch for several years, and just like every year at Christmas, I just I somehow never get around to stitching ornaments. So that's why I really enjoyed this year, just like finally stitching all these ornaments I've been wanting to do. But I'm also kind of burnt out on ornaments now after doing 15 of them. Anyway, this is We Wish You a Merry Christmas by Top Knot Stitcher. This is the called for DMC Etoile, but the fabric I used is 28 count picture this plus in the color Cyprium, I believe. And I used some of that fabric I got at, I think I got that one at no, that might be from Walmart too, actually, now that I think about it. And I finished it just with some red ribbon I had. And I really love how this one turned out. I think it's really cute. Then I finished Pickle Barrel Designs Ho Ho Home. So this is the one I changed all the colors to make it resemble our camper. So the original design has a red camper. I just changed some things around just to make it look more like ours. And I finished it with that Pioneer Woman holiday fabric. It's a really cute fabric. And then I hung this little bauble. The pack I got from Michael's with all of these glittery balls also had a couple of these little baubles in it. So yeah, there's that finish with some trim. And I talked about more in the previous video, like the changes I made, but this is a 32 count picture this plus fabric in the color Serene. It's just a like very light mint aqua kind of color. Okay, Whistle Stop Stitcher Sweater Weather. This was, I think, one of Jennifer's very first designs. I think when she first started releasing patterns, it was the summer. I remember it was 2020. We were all staying at home during the pandemic. I was going to work, but most of the country was staying at home. And I remember she started releasing designs that summer. But this one must have, I guess since it's sweater weather, so this came out that fall. Anyway, it was still one of her early designs. And this is a freebie. You can still get this from Jennifer, Whistle Stop Stitcher. This is that same picture this plus 28 count Cyprium. It's the same fabric as this other one. And I just grabbed some DMC Etoile and stitched that up. And then it's finished with this little plaid fabric and that green yarn. And it's across the room now, so I'll grab that when I'm done filming. Okay, so then I finished, I think this one, did I finish? I might have finished this after I filmed the last video. It doesn't really matter. Yeah, okay. So those were the ones I think I showed in the last video, and then I finished these since then. So this is Top Knot Stitcher Christmas Spirits. This is available on Abby's website, topknotstitcher.com. It was also in the Just Cross Stitch ornament issue. This is stitched on, it's a 32 count. I think it's a Be Stitch Me fabric in the color Gunmetal, I believe. It's just a charcoal, like bluish gray. I did not use the it calls for Dinky Dice Silks. I just used, I think they're Forbidden Fiber Company flosses that I had in stash, actually. But I used like the same colors that she used. And then finished this with this cute little ribbon. And my little glitter balls. Those glitter balls are nice for hiding, like, what would you call it? Not seams, but for kind of hiding where your trim comes together, and just giving your piece a little flair. Okay, so the next one is not technically an ornament. It's a flat fold because it was a little bit large for an ornament. I mean, I could have made it an ornament, but it was pretty big. And I didn't realize it was going to be so big. I did start stitching it to be an ornament, and then when I finished it, it was just a little large. I'm still counting it with my 15 ornaments, but it's a flat fold. So this is from Tiny Modernist, and it's called Tropical Christmas. It's actually a set of 4 patterns, and I only stitched one of the 4, but the entire set is called Tropical Christmas. There's a Santa with a surfboard, there's 2 flamingos, and and then there's a mermaid as the 4th one. So this is the palm tree that's like decorated for Christmas. I finished, like I said, I finished this as a flat fold with that fabric I got from Walmart. And this is that 14 count Aida that I got at Michael's. It's Charles Craft, and it's like a subtle green to blue variegation, and I've used it on a lot of things, and it's a very versatile fabric. So I used all the called for DMC on this, and I just customized it a little bit. Down here I wrote Puerto Penasco 2022, just to commemorate our Christmas in Mexico. It's really cute. It took longer to stitch than I thought. But then that made sense when I saw that it was a lot bigger than I thought as well. I wanted to do the flamingos in that set. They're really, really cute. And then I realized that there aren't flamingos in this part of Mexico, so it didn't really make a lot of sense for commemorating the Christmas that we're spending here. Okay, so then I finished from Amanda May at Artist Designs. I finished Whaley Love Winter. I think this came out last year. You can get this from her at her website. This is a 32 count linen from Fox and Rabbit that is not released yet. This was it's just a special dye for a project that Karen sent me, but she did tell me that they have a color coming out sometime next year, I think in the spring, that is almost the same color. So they do, I think they'll have something similar to this in the future. This is stitched with sulky floss, but not the ones, the chart is actually, it is charted with with sulky floss, but I didn't have all those colors. But I had similar colors from my stash. So I used, I think my colors are almost the same as the ones that are used on the original, but I did make substitutions. And then I finished this as a little pillow. And this one was really, really cute and fun to stitch. The back stitch really makes that whale come alive. It looked a little funky before I put the back stitch on, but I was like, it's gonna be okay, because I could see the picture of the finish, so I knew it was gonna look like a whale, but until I put that back stitch on, it was looking a little weird. But the back stitch really helped. And what was really fun about this one is you can't tell on the picture in the magazine, but this whale is back stitched in metallic floss. And I don't know if you're going to be able to see that on the camera or not, but it really gives this a really fun dimension and sparkle. You probably have to see it in person to really appreciate that, but that was a pleasant surprise because I didn't even know it had sparkle back stitch until I started stitching it, and then I went to add the back stitch and realized it was a metallic, which I just grabbed something from Stash, but I think I matched it pretty closely. And it came out really, really cute. In person, the sparkle metallic back stitch is like chef's kiss, and I would like to outline everything in sparkly metallic back stitch from here on out because it's a nice look. Okay, so then I stitched from Marissa at Kissed Creations. I stitched her pattern called Santa Claus. And this is a crab, and it's Santa Claus. And I thought this fit with our beachy Christmas that we're having. I did make a couple changes. I used all the called for colors except for on Santa Claus. Marissa has hers stitched with just white DMC, but it wasn't showing up on this fabric, which is that 14 count Aida from Michael's. I told you I use this a lot. It's very versatile. But the white wasn't showing up, so I switched this to a sparkly DMC at 12. And then I did have to back stitch on the hat just to get that white to show up a little bit better. But otherwise it's called 4 colors. This stitched up really fast. It's big, but it's a really quick stitch. And then I finished this again with that fabric and that green yarn. And there's that. I'm getting tired. We're almost done. Okay, so I bought this magazine is out right now. I got this at Barnes & Noble a couple weeks ago. This is The World of Cross Stitching, and it's their Christmas issue. I mean, I don't know officially what issue it is. I can never really tell with these, but it's out on newsstands now. And I got this for a few reasons, but in this magazine, there are these patterns by Maria Diaz, which she contributes a lot to these magazines. And it's called Festive Traditions, and it's just it's several pages of 42 little designs. Like most of them are really small. And they're celebrating Christmas traditions or holiday traditions around the world. So I actually combined 2 of those together to make this next ornament. So there was the snowman, the sombrero snowman, and then there was the Christmas cactus. So I took that and then I flipped the cactus and did framed the snowman with that, and I think it came out so cute. But that is 2 of those motifs that I combined. This is a 14 count Aida that I walnut dyed myself, and then I used the called for DMC, and I think this came out so cute. I think this is one of my favorites that I did. And it's called Festive Traditions. So then I stitched, I believe, oh, this is, okay, so Cross Stitcher magazine, I think it was Cross Stitcher magazine. My library has, where you can get like digital, you can check out the magazine as a digital checkout. So this is a new year-long stitch along that they're doing for 2023. And it's by Amanda Butler, and it's called Seasonal Houses. And they're going to do like notable houses throughout the UK, or notable styles of houses throughout the UK. But they're going to go like through the year, through all the seasons. So the very first house that they were doing to kick this off was a house in Edinburgh, and it was a wintry scene. So I actually am not going to do the entire year-long stitch along, but I wanted to do just that one house to commemorate our trip that we took in September to the UK, including Edinburgh, and just have this as an ornament. So I'm really happy with with how this turned out. This is again on that 14 count Aida that I walnut dyed myself. So this is I hung this little bauble. This is the house. So this in Edinburgh, there is this, there are these stone houses that are this like, I don't know what the stone is. And actually the magazine kind of, I think described what it is, but this is an architectural feature that you'll see throughout Edinburgh. A lot of the houses were built with this specific look and stone. So I loved how the backstitch really made this one come alive. There's a ton of backstitch in there. And I loved the pastel snow. I mean, it's just snow, but it's got like some pastel lilac, lavender, pink, and blue to just give it some dimension and just make it a little more fun. So that was really intricate to stitch, and the back stitch wasn't really fun, but it gives a really good effect. And the last ornament that I stitched, unfortunately I don't have a name or designer or anything for this because This is a Russian magazine that I found at my library. So I just searched cross stitch and this came up, and the magazine's in Cyrillic. I don't know what it's called. It's a Russian cross stitch magazine. And they had several issues available. Now, I did notice when I was flipping through that most of them were the designers that you see in the UK magazines, like Maria Diaz, Doreen Jones, Lucy Heaton, like all those designers that always contribute to these magazines. And some of the patterns looked really familiar, and I'm like, I'm sure I've seen that in this magazine before. So I think they all just kind of like recycled through. So anyway, I don't know who the designer is. I don't know what it's called. But I am sure it's been in one of the UK cross stitch magazines, but I have no more information. So this was a really quick stitch. So it was a little puppy. I did change the colors to make it look like my puppy. So, but otherwise I think I kept it all the same. I just, with the face, the face was more white with some brown splotches, and I just made it all kind of a solid brown to look like my dog. And then I backstitched Arlo's First Christmas down there at the bottom. And that was a quick, like one day stitch that I did yesterday. So that's number 15. That's my 15th ornament. So like I said, there are a few, I might stitch a few more, we'll see. But I don't know if I'll fully finish anymore. We'll have to see if I get inspired, but I'm tired. I'm tired of finishing ornaments. And a little bit tired of stitching them as well. So I did work on a few things. In between all those ornaments, believe it or not, over the last week and a half, I've stitched a couple of things. So the first thing is I have worked some more on my holiday rooster sampler. I should have worked a lot more on this, but I was too busy stitching ornaments. But I have worked on it some. So this is, in my last video, I showed this sampler. This is a sampler that I've released from Hemlock Rye Stitchery. I'll link below if you'd like to go get the sampler. You are certainly welcome to pick that up. We're doing a little Christmas stitch along. It's a 2-color sampler. I'm using red and green, so for me that's a Christmassy feel, but you could really use any 2 colors at all. I had a lot of fun on Instagram doing mock-ups for people of color combinations that they wanted to see, and some of them were really, really stunning. So this sampler is certainly customizable, but I'm stitching mine with Classic Colorworks in the color Mistletoe, which is the green, and Bandana, which is that deep red. And this is on 40 count Fox and Rabbit linen in the color Eureka, which is this beautiful pale goldy beige neutral. And I am almost to the bottom of this sampler. So this is the last motif on this side. And then there's a board, this motif mirrors the top here. So it's just gonna flip down here at the bottom. So I've got like a row of flowers here, and then I'll be at the bottom. But it's getting there. This is a very big motif here. And I'm not done with it, but I've got a big chunk done. It's looking so good. It was the mock-up, which I'll put in. The mock-up is, very beautiful, but seeing it actually stitched up, it's so pretty. So if you want to get this chart, you can certainly grab it. I'll link it down below. And if you want to stitch it along with me, I'm using the hashtag Holiday Rooster Sal, S-A-L, Holiday Rooster S-A-L. And I need to get back to that. I might work on that some more today. So then I had started this chart from Park Hopper Bart called Be Merry All. And I went back and did a little bit more on this. so this is a 32 count linen from Fox and Rabbit in the color Eucalyptus, which is so beautiful. I bought this fabric just because it was so pretty. And I didn't know what I was going to stitch on it. And then Bart came out with this chart and I was like, that is perfect for that. So you can get this chart from from Evertotes. You can get this chart from Evertotes, and it's stitched with Roxy floss, but I didn't get the floss pack because I don't have an address. So I just got the PDF, and then I used my own floss. I pulled colors based on the DMC conversion and the cover photo. So I'm not using the color floss, but the same color in general. And it's looking really good, and it's stitching up really fast. This was just I think this was just 2 days of stitching on this. So I know that some people love stitching words. I hate stitching words. Okay, I don't hate it, but I don't love stitching words. So I started, I did the top border and I started stitching the words, and then I got bored. So I stitched down to the bottom so that I could stitch something else in the meantime, because I also get really bored with border and I didn't want to just do more border. So yeah, that's why I've got 2 lines and then I just kind of jumped down. This would be an easy finish, and I need to finish it. But I am waiting because I have goals next year on what I want to finish and how many things I want to finish. And I know that this could be finished with maybe 3 or 4 days of stitching. And so I'm actually kind of saving it so I can finish it in 2023 and count it towards my number that I need to hit. And so that's why I'm not finishing it this year, even though I definitely could. And I was very tempted. I'm very, very tempted to finish it, but I think I'm going to need that number in my total next year. I'll talk about that some other video about those goals. Okay, so last video I had showed progress on Cathedral Woods Goddess by Mirabilia. And this was one I had gotten out just because she's been calling and I wanted to work on her. And I did, and I got to a good spot, and then I thought I was done. I put her away and I thought she's going away for a while. Well, then my friend Sarah, Memphis Sarah, she had a birthday and she asked if people would stitch on Fancy Ladies for her birthday. And I said, of course, here's what I've got with me. And I told her, the few that I brought. I think I have 4 here with me. And I said, you pick one, and she picked Cathedral Woods Goddess. So I actually ended up getting this back out, even though I thought, she was done for a while. So I got a little bit more progress in her. I only worked on her for just the 1 day. So I didn't get a ton more, but I got a little bit more. So she stitched on a 28 count, Picture This Plus linen in the color Gossamer. And I'm using all the called for colors except for the skin. I did do a conversion on her skin tone, and I made her a deeper skin tone. I got that conversion from Megan, the Wide-Eyed Stitching Child. If you are interested in that, just let me know and I'll send it to you. It's just a DMC substitution for the called for colors. But this round I came down and worked more down here in the dress, and I think I did a lot more over here. Well, maybe not a lot more, but I did a little bit more over here. And I did quite a bit on her dress at the bottom. And now I do think she's going away for a while. Not because I don't love her, but just because there's other things I'm going to need to be working on. My last work in progress is the Dark Queen of the Earth. So, I had gotten caught up in November. So it's all caught up, ready for the December release. And then I realized, I was in the throes of all this Christmas ornament stitching, and I was like, I don't know if I'm even going to stitch on this Dark Queen in December. I'm not sure I'm gonna want to stop Christmas stitching. But it did actually get to the point where I needed a little break from the Christmas stitching. So I did work on Dark Queen of the Earth for 2 days, I believe. Now, unfortunately, the December section is huge. I think it's almost, someone did the math, and I think it was almost 4,000 stitches. So it's a really large section, but I got a good chunk done. I don't believe I will finish this section in December. I'll have to catch up in January, but it looks beautiful. It's a gorgeous section. It's really pretty. So here's where I'm at. So like I said, I did this big chunk here for the December section, but it goes all the way down here, and then it kind of spills out this way. So I've still got to do like all of that, and it's pretty much solid stitching. So there's still quite a bit. There's still quite a bit to come. But like I said, I got a respectable start on the December section. Unfortunately, my best guess for January is we're going over to this side and doing a similar amount of stitching over here. So I'm not sure how much I'm going to get caught up in January. We'll have to see. But this is one I definitely want to keep caught up with, relatively caught up with during the year. And then she'll be a nice big finish in 2023. This is a 28 count Monaco that I dyed myself, otherwise using all the called for DMCs. So that was all of my stitching. I only bought one thing. So I'm so bad. I always say, like, don't let me join any stitch alongs. Don't let me join any more sals. Like, I don't want to commit. And that's true. I don't want to commit. The only one I had committed to was the Modern Folk Embroidery. Oh, I can't think of the name of it right now. I think I wrote it down. Let me see. Reaching Skyward. So I am doing that in 2023, and it's going to be huge and a ton of stitching. And I didn't want to join any others, but Pixie X Stitch. So I did that ornament from her. Let me grab it. So this was her ornament in the Just Cross Stitch 2022 ornament issue. So she's doing a stitch along in 2023, and I went ahead and purchased it because she was having it was at a steep discount. It's called the Natural World Sampler. If you want to go check it out, I think it might still be at a discount until maybe December 31st, but I could also be making that up. But I think you can get it discounted for now. And she's just released one tiny little sneak peek, but I was intrigued. She's calling it a modern black sampler. And she's not even stitching it with like a black floss, but just like I think what she's saying is it's like a one color sampler, and she's using a really beautiful Gentle Arts called Lagoon, which I love that color. So just like hers is like going to be like a really deep teal kind of color. But yeah, I bought that. That was the only thing I bought. And I'm not promising that I'll actually be stitching it, but I wanted to at least have the option to. And then we'll see. We'll see as and I might not even like when the first part comes out, I still might not I might jump on board in like February or March. We'll see. But that's all I bought. And if anyone's intrigued by that little sneak peek, definitely go check that out, because I know she said that I think once the stitch along starts, the price is going to jump up. Okay, so that's all the stitching. So I do want to talk about a couple books, just because I've actually read a few since my last video. So I'm going to do that, but otherwise I'm done talking about stitching. If you're just here to hear about cross stitch, you can go now. I'm just going to talk about books for a minute, and then I'm out of here. So, okay, so I read a couple books. So I read this book called From Bad to Cursed by Lana Harper. This is the second book, and I believe it's just going to be a trilogy, but it's a romance, it's a contemporary romance. The first book was called Payback's a Witch, and it came out last fall. And I loved Payback's a Witch. It was really, really cute. It was a sapphic romance, but the entire series is set in this charming little town in Illinois called Thistle Grove. So it's got that like small town vibe. The town has like a lake that provides basically like it's a fountain of magic. And so there are, I believe, 4 founding families that, I think that's right, 4. So there are 4 families that have like magic affinities in this town. So they're kind of like rival clans. And so in the first book, they're having I think every 25 years, they have like a magical competition where the winner is, kind of like, I can't remember what like the winner actually gets, but basically like they get more, I think they get more like magical influence or more power from the town magic if they win. So in the first book, this competition was going on, and you get introduced to the 4 families, and they each have an affinity. So like one of the families has like an Eastern European background, and they do like necromancy and kind of like that darker magic. And then one of the families has like nature earth magic. So they have different like things that they're good at, and they all are kind of like rivals. But in these books, it's always like someone from one family and someone from another family falling in love. So they're not quite enemies to lovers, but rivals to lovers maybe would be a good way of putting it. So the first one was really good. So they're just like, they're really well written. They're really funny. They're snarky, a little dark and twisty. And they're witchy, obviously. But I really enjoyed like the author's kind of vibe, her writing style. And like I said, just really, really readable, but really fun. They're not like, oh my gosh, the best book you ever read, but they're just like a really solid good time. And so the second one is, so the first one, like I said, was sapphic. So it was a female-female romance. The second one is a male-female romance. And the third one, I'm not sure what that one's going to be. But this was a really great, like still, I would say, like loved it just as much as the first one. Really good series, really pretty books. So if you want like a cute, funny, sassy, witchy romance, like definitely check this series out. I very, very much have enjoyed this series. So then I reread a couple of things. So I, every winter, I get the urge to reread The Bear and the Nightingale series by Catherine Arden. So even though I am not in a snowy, cold climate right now, I still got the urge to reread. So I actually, this time, am listening to the audiobooks from my library for The Bear and the Nightingale. It's a trilogy, so it's actually an adult fantasy series. And it's set in like medieval, possibly medieval Russia, and features like all of the Russian folklore and myths. So like all of the gods and the folk myths of Russia, like Baba Yaga, the Leshy, the Kikimora. There's what are the other ones? The river god, the Vada. Is it the Vodvoy or the Vodanoy? It's all of those like fables. play into the story, but they're written so beautifully. So the main character is Vazia, and she's her father is like a Russian lord, but they live way out in the country, like they're very isolated. And she has this affinity for seeing and communicating with these mythical beings. So most people do not see them. They still, like a lot of people still do, like they have some superstitions, they do offerings to these gods, but they don't necessarily like worship or believe in them. So these gods and these magical creatures are kind of fading. But Vazia can see them and communicate with them much more than anyone else. So it's about her interactions with them. So the primary feature is Morozko, the death god. He plays a huge role in this series. And his brother, who's the bear in the story, oh my god, I know Medved. I couldn't think of his name. So anyway, he's kind of the villain of the story. So the trilogy is about her teaming up with Morozko to fend off the god of chaos, basically. But it's such a good trilogy. It's just written absolutely stunning. It's so beautiful. I have also reread, I've concluded my Twilight reread, which I'm also doing on audiobook through the library. So I finished Breaking Dawn by Stephanie Meyer. I'm not talking about this series again. Twilight came out, 15 years ago? Everybody knows what it's about. And if you don't, I'm not explaining it. I gave my thoughts, I think, last video because I just finished Eclipse. So Twilight is, for me, it started off as just, how do I phrase this? It started off as like a hate thing for me. I was drugged to the first Twilight movie. I had not read the books. I thought it was all like completely ridiculous and insane. I was drugged to the first movie. Did not like it. I thought it was like horrible. Well, I don't know that that's true. I think it was fine, but I was kind of just sitting there like, what's happened? Like, what is this? But at the end of the movie, I was somehow, even though I didn't like it, I was like, well, I have to know what happens next. And I remember I left the movie theater and I went and bought the books. I don't think Breaking Dawn was out yet, but I think definitely the first two, maybe the first three were out. And I went straight to Barnes & Noble and I bought the books and then just binged them. And my hate somehow turned into love at some point. So I have a very love-hate relationship with this series. I think it's trash. I don't think it's good, but I love it. I feel that way about the books and the movies. So there's that. So the last thing I read was The Plight Before Christmas by Kate Stewart. So this is a steamy romance on Kindle Unlimited. So she just released this for Christmas this year. Now, Kate Stewart wrote the Raven Hood trilogy, which I absolutely loved. So that was a dark romance, super emotional, like I shouldn't say you will, but I cried and was just really invested in that trilogy. So I know this author, I really have enjoyed her work. And I read another book by her and I loved it, called Drive. So I really went in expecting to love this book. And this one just for me was just, I did not love it. So this is a second chance romance. And maybe that was the main problem. Like maybe that's just not my jam. But this was a second chance romance about a couple who dated in college, had a messy breakup, and then reconnect, you know, like 15, 18 years later, something like that. And it wasn't bad. I just was like, I was kind of bored. It was really slow burn. They don't kiss until like 80% in. And it just, I don't know. I just felt like I could feel the author like just trying really hard to like make it really emotional and really tug at my heartstrings, but it didn't feel natural. It felt very contrived. And you know, someone might say that about her other books. Like, I get it. Like sometimes, you know, the author is, all authors are trying to make us feel something. But I think sometimes you just naturally like sink into a book and you're just feeling, you know, the journey, and you get into it. And then other times you're like kind of looking from afar and you're like, I see what you're doing here. I see what you're trying to get me to do here. And I don't know, it just felt overwrought. It was overwrought to me. So I didn't love it, and I just kind of wanted it to be over. And then the end, it was just so like so many like really, really cheesy things happened at the end. What it felt like to me was someone trying to write a Colleen Hoover book, but not being Colleen Hoover. Like, she was trying for that like twist you didn't see coming, and like, you know, to just really get you in your feels and just have you like sobbing and through the book. But like, she just didn't do it as well as Colleen Hoover. So it wasn't it for me. It was a miss for me. And I really have enjoyed Kate Stewart's other books. So I think it was just this one. And I went on Goodreads, and like everybody was giving it 5 stars and was like, I loved it. It was amazing. So maybe it was just me, the mood I was in, but I don't recommend. I didn't love it. But that's okay. I'm reading one right now that I really am enjoying. So maybe next video I'll have some fun Kindle Unlimited Christmas romances to talk about. All right, but those are all the books I read. So that is it for this video. If you made it this far, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.